This is Atomic Shinobi and today I am going to narrate what if Naruto was eliminated by Root ANBU after Sasuke Retrieval arc. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Not wasting no time, let's start the story.
One of the most powerful and well-known villages in this secret world is Konoha, which is concealed among the leaves. The destiny of these lands will be permanently altered by one boy and one ninja. His name is Naruto Uzumaki, and he is Konoha's biggest knucklehead. Naruto Uzumaki has experienced a great deal. He was strong, powerful, and well-known in Konoha and many other villages as a result of his numerous battles. As a pupil of the great and powerful Toad Sage Jiraiya, I was also affected by the Chunin exams. Naruto's destiny is going to change today. 3 months after the Sasuke rescue plan failed, today was December 24th. On New Year's Day, Naruto and his master Jiraiya would depart. As Naruto started to worry about what would happen to his village without him, his friends tried their best to lift his spirits and make him feel much better about leaving the village to grow stronger. The apartment of Naruto. When Naruto awoke that morning, he asked, "Morning already?" and looked around to discover that it was 10 o'clock. That day, Naruto got out of bed and dressed. To join his team at the training ground, Naruto left his apartment. Training area. Naruto asked Kakashi, "Hey Kakashi. Sensei, are you going to the party later today?" With a slight sigh, Kakashi says, "Well, I was hoping to catch up on my reading." Sighing, Sakura said, "Kakashi. Sensei, you need to stop reading that book. This will be Naruto's last time here in the village before he goes. At least show you care about Naruto leaving." Kakashi gave Naruto a head pat and said, "I'm sorry, don't worry, I'll be there, don't worry." Naruto grinned and said, "Thanks Kakashi. Sensei, that means a lot to me." Sakura shook her head, "I'll tell ya he's more into that book than anything but even his own life." Kakashi puffed away in smoke, saying, "Well, there's no mission for us today, I'll see you two around." Sakura giggled at the thought, "Maybe you should do that, Naruto, you always do play ticks on everyone." Naruto laughed, "Yeah, take that away," and Kakashi got nightmares. Sakura frowned when Naruto mentioned Sasuke's name. "Well, I don't know Sakura-chan. I got to get serious and become more mature so I can bring Sasuke back." Despite her guilt, Sakura put on a mask and said, "Don't be late, Naruto. The party starts at 8 tonight." Naruto smiled at Sakura and said, "I know Sakura-chan, I won't be late." After saying that, Sakura left the training area, leaving Naruto by himself. Naruto's apartment later that afternoon. A gift was left at Naruto's door. At that moment, Naruto grinned and said, "Wow, Sakura-chan left me an early gift." He grabbed the big wrapped gift box and said, "From Sakura." Naruto places the box on his bed and dashes into his apartment room. With a startled expression, Naruto tore open the box and picked up the red and green Christmas sweater. "A sweater?" he asked. Sakura wrote a note. "Dear Naruto, I made this sweater for you. I think it will suit you much better than bright orange jumpsuit of yours from Sakura." Naruto responded with a sweat drop. "Well, might as well wear, see if it fit me. Sakura-chan made this sweater for me, might as well wear and not disappoint her." Naruto put on his Christmas party attire after changing into it. Naruto matched his outfit with a pair of black pants and the sweater Sakura had made for him. Then all of a sudden, Naruto recalls a pledge he made today. Naruto quickly makes his way to Konoha's garden. The Garden of Konoha. Ino's family grows their flowers in a unique area of Konoha where they also grow fruits and other items. Additionally, Naruto enjoyed maintaining and expanding a garden. The mother of Ms. Yamanaka Ino was waiting for Naruto to arrive so he could trim a few leaves here and there. To Ino's mother, Naruto bows his head and says, "I'm sorry, Ms. Yamanaka." Ms. Yamanaka smiles slightly as she crosses her arms over her breasts. By the time she is in her 30s, Ms. Yamanaka appears to be an adult Ino. She places a hat on Naruto's head. "Glad you're here, Naruto, I need your green thumb today. The corn, apples, blueberries are ready to be gathered for tonight party. And also the brushes need some cutting." To shield Naruto's eyes from the sun, she gave him a typical brown hat. In order to cut down any wild growing brush, Naruto first went to the tool storage to retrieve his glove. Claw. While the real Naruto worked on the brushes, he summoned 4 of his shadow clones to complete the task. The clone's right hand lacked a glove. Claw. With the brushes, Naruto was very artistic and occasionally drew anything he wanted. When the clones finished picking the party's ready.to eat fruits, Ms. Yamanaka told Naruto he could go and rest after finishing the brushes. Returning to Naruto's apartment. When Naruto returned to his apartment, his landlord, to whom he had paid his bills, stopped him. Naruto complied with his landlord's request because the party was only 2 hours away at 6 o'clock. The landlord said, "Hey brat, I want you to fix something for me." He told his landlord, "What is it you want me to fix? I'm not a handyman." The landlord said, "Don't get smart with me kid, you fix something for me before." "Okay, what need fixing?" The landlord gave Naruto the tools he needed to fix the boiler down below, saying, "The boiler needs fixing, there is a leak. You fix it before you now go." Boiler room. When Naruto arrived at the boiler room, it appeared eerie and dim. The enormous boiler was visible to Naruto in the center of the spacious room beneath the apartments. Naruto observed numerous big tubes leaving the apartment and traveling to other locations. Naruto noticed a minor leak that wasn't very serious. Naruto used super glue and tape to seal the tiny leak. Odd done, that didn't take long now to get some sleep before the party. Naruto wasn't a handyman, as he claimed, but he was good at fixing things on his own field. Naruto was about to turn around to see who was there when a voice abruptly said, "Sorry Uzumaki, but you'll be dead before it even starts." However, the unidentified person struck Naruto in the face with a kunai, but it only nibbled a long line from his nose to his left cheek. A tiny sound abruptly caught Naruto's attention, and he began to concentrate on the location and object of the kunai's strike. Naruto's eyes widened in shock and fear as the kunai struck a gas line at the end of the tag, which was an explosion tag and enlightened in fire. This marked the end of his life. "No," he cried, realizing that there was nothing he could do to stop the impending end of his life. The face of his killer, Root ANBU, was the last thing Naruto saw before his life, dreams, and promise came to an end. Naruto's final words before being consumed by the blast flames of the exploding boiler were, "I'm sorry, Sakura." Naruto opened his blue eyes a moment later, but all he saw was a red sky. The ground was extremely hot, and as Naruto slowly rose from the ground, his eyes widened in shock at the situation he found himself in. Without uttering a word, Naruto got up from the ground and continued walking toward the road of hell, where he would discover that he was not the only soul who had died without receiving justice. Out of all the places Naruto imagined himself in the afterlife, hell was one of them. He ended up here even though this wasn't the location he had hoped for. He didn't know why, but it could be that he was currently hosting a demon, which would be the best explanation for his presence. Naruto examined his hands, noticing the severe burns on his hands and forearms. Although his face was unharmed, there were cut marks around his neck and a deep burn line that began on his right cheek and ended at his left eye. Naruto strolled through the flaming fire to see where he would be held accountable for his life's transgressions. Nevertheless, there were no demons, no devil, and no one informed him of his impending doom. He had not yet met any of the inhabitants of hell. However, the background and atmosphere of the area changed when Naruto leapt from the wide edge of a cliff and landed somewhere else. He wasn't even certain if he had entered another area of hell or was already there. Naruto was now in a dimly lit area that felt red because everything there was tinted red. Naruto discovered that he was in an underground location, but he was certain that he was inside a building. The long corridor was lined with big pipes that pumped steam. There was a door at the end of the hall. What was behind the door intrigued Naruto. Suddenly there was the sound of malevolent laughter. It felt strange to Naruto to be moving down the corridor, but he wasn't even approaching the door at the end of it, as though he wasn't moving at all. The sensation of someone breathing touched the back of Naruto's neck, sending a shiver down his spine. Naruto turned around in a hurry, but there was no one there. He was eager to leave hell because he didn't like this feeling at all. When Naruto heard someone say behind him, "There's a crime for stealing someone's lifestyle," he froze in place. He quickly turned around, but nothing was there once more. Before long, he heard a man laughing menacingly. "Copycats, I hate them. They have no class, no original taste, and they give the real one a real bad flow. So tell me kid, who are you, and pray to God you're not some would-be ass copycat." According to his voice, the man is angry. Naruto pondered why, but he noticed that the clothes he was wearing were those from the Christmas party. Naruto stood motionless and stared around, wondering where the man was. "If my clothes unset you, sorry if I mean to be stealing your style. I'm not sure what the hell is going," he said. The man spoke again, but this time his tone was one of surprise and curiosity rather than rage. Naruto sighed in relief, playing his cards correctly. "So you're not a copycat? Good, and you're new. Sorry to break it to you kid, but you're in my zone. With a little touch and a hat, hell, you look like me when I was young. But without the whiskers." Naruto wanted to win this person over rather than turn him against him. "Who are you?" "I just arrived, name's Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto introduced himself to the unidentified zone owner. "Ah, a man of the rising sun or Nobel samurai or stealthy deadly ninja." The man laughed, making fun of Naruto's origins. But you don't look like it. I'll say daddy must have had a thing for the Asian babes, or mommy wanted more than the usually meat pack. The man laughed loudly once more. But his attempt to make Naruto angry didn't work. If your plan was to mock enough to get my guard down, it failed. Your words mean nothing to me. Is that so, brat? Naruto grinned arrogantly and said, it's real hard to piss someone off by talking about their parents when they're an orphan at birth. There was a long pause that worried Naruto a little. As though he were standing right there, whispering in Naruto's ear like a devil, the man said, I smell evil on your soul. He then laughed briefly. Where are you? Why don't you come and face me? Man to man, Naruto said, wanting to end this game of hide and seek. The man made a tisk 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 sound. Where the fun in that? It's been a while since I have company, and well, hell has bored me. My powers have weakened since my stay, and you're full of energy, so full of souls. What are you suggesting? We make a deal. Naruto wonders who they were and what they would do to his man if they found him. If you help me get out of here, I can help you. You knew they hadn't found you yet. Are you ready to make a deal with a demon? I have a demon seal inside my soul. What's your excuse? Naruto seemed to be giving this child a promising future as a murderer, according to the man. Someone threw their right arm into Naruto's back, causing him to gasp in surprise. A significant amount of blood was coughed up by Naruto from his mouth. The unidentified individual tore Naruto's right arm off of him, causing him to fall to his knees and fight on the ground. Naruto was completely immobile. Naruto noticed a person wearing black shoes approaching him. Slowly, Naruto looked up and saw that he was wearing the same kind of Christmas sweater and black pants, sporting a brown hat and a glove with blades on the tips of the fingers. The man had blue eyes. Naruto could see the man's terrible, burned face and wondered where he came from. To give Naruto a better view of his burned face, the man knees down on his right leg and tilts his hatred upward. Ah, beautiful, isn't it? It's not your soul but your victim's souls are what give you your special gifts, the man said, holding a glowing red ball of energy in his right hand. Weakly, Naruto asked, what do you want? The man clarifies to Naruto what he wanted from him. Like you, I have a special thing I keep my souls in. But they took it from me, and here's the deal, kid, if you help me get it back, I'll help you live again. You can go your girlfriend, mother, or whoever you hold dear in your life. So what do you say, kid? Do we have a deal? If you don't, I'll just take this as my replacement of souls. With a feeble laugh, Naruto said, I don't have a choice. Fine, I'll help you get your souls back. The man held the red ball over Naruto's open wound, and in a matter of seconds, Naruto recovered his souls while his wounds healed. Who are you? Naruto asked the man as he slowly rose from the ground. The individual laughed. I am many things. I'm the man your mommy and daddy tell you in children's stories. I'm the man who under your bed. I'm the man who hides in your closet. The man laughed and said, hey, I just ask who you are. I don't need to know your titles, jackass. He enjoys playing with people. After Freddy introduced himself to Naruto, the background changed to show the two of them back in hell. Freddy Krueger, the Springwood slasher. But somewhere on a floor beneath the one from which Naruto leapt. He questioned Krueger, where are your souls being kept? Wondering what sort of assistance Freddy was referring to, Naruto said, I know where it is and it's how we're going to get it. We gonna need more help. Yeah, we're gonna need muscle and I know just the right fellow, Freddy said, laughing as his smile turned evil. He grabbed Naruto's right shoulder as the two abruptly vanished into the unknown. Naruto and Freddy reappear in a different part of hell. Freddy knew where they were, but Naruto did not. Now, they found themselves in a chilly location with a huge lake directly in front of them, surrounded by trees and cabins. Wondering who Freddy was referring to, Naruto stopped abruptly when he heard footsteps approaching them. Keep your eyes open, kid, or else you'll lose your head. He doesn't company. A man emerged from the lake, but he wasn't just any man. He was a large man, around 6 feet 2 inches, with a dark blue shirt underneath a ripped black jacket. His eyes were brown, and he had on a white hockey mask. Jason Voorhees, who had a history with Freddy, was holding a machete in his right hand. I haven't seen my mother's boy in a long time, Freddy chuckled. Jason looks at Naruto and glares at the dream demon he so vividly recalls. Jason walked toward Freddy while gripping his machete, tilting his head to the right before turning it back. Freddy was prepared to face Jason again. Jason, however, passed Freddy because the masked killer was focused entirely on Naruto. Naruto raised his head and met Jason's gaze directly. Although Naruto was unsure of what was happening, Jason was a strange giant who was taller than Naruto. Because of his size, Naruto felt like a 2-year-old staring at an adult. Jason and Naruto maintained eye contact. However, Jason thought that Freddy had kept him at bay when he ran towards him. In an unexpected move, Jason grabbed Freddy by the neck of his sweater and threw him into his lake. A small group of drowning victims pulled Freddy down, but he struggled to free himself and repelled them. Although Jason's actual death was not from drowning, he did drown as a child and survived. This part of hell was designated for people who had drowned to death. In order to save Freddy, Naruto was terrified to act, but he had no idea what Jason would do if he ever moved. "What the hell are you doing? Get me a fucking hand here," Freddy screamed. When Naruto looked into Jason's eyes, he froze. In his mind, Naruto heard a tiny, childlike voice ask, "What are you doing here? You're not a bad person. Why are you here?" Naruto believed Jason was the source of it. "Is that, you're talking to me? Why are you with that bad man?" Jason understands what Naruto means when he says, "I just want to leave. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve hell." Naruto looks down at the floor, his eyes full of sadness. "I didn't deserve death. I had so much to do, but it's hard to live with. There are many who want you gone." The background abruptly changed to, "I was a good boy like you. I didn't deserve death, I didn't deserve hell, but neither did my mother." However, not much change, and they seemed to be in a flashback of Jason's memories, but they weren't in hell. As the two watched the day that permanently altered Jason's life, Jason was sharing his memories with Naruto. Pamela Voorhees, Jason's mother, was a kind and compassionate single mother, but she harbored a deep desire for vengeance. Jason and Naruto observed how everyone at the Camp Crystal Lake abruptly gave up on finding Jason a day later, and how Pamela broke down in tears on the day of Jason's drowning. Pamela refused to accept it and accused them of failing to keep a close eye on Jason, which led to Pamela's death that evening. When Pamela was decapitated, Jason closed his eyes. Lake of Drowning returned as the backdrop. Freddy was battling the dam's drowning souls. Jason turned his attention to Freddy and asked, "He promises he would help you?" With a nod, Naruto says, "He's a bad man, a very bad man. He doesn't deserve freedom, he doesn't deserve anything." Jason turned back to Naruto and nodded emphatically, saying, "But I need his help. He said they hadn't found me yet. Do you know who they are?" "I know who they are. They leave me, they didn't take anything from me. They said I'm different, I'm special, they me a spot on their side, but I refuse." Naruto smiled slightly and said, "Can you help me? You really don't seem like a bad person." "Well, you may look like it, but I can see you're not." Something about Naruto's presence made Jason feel normal. He no longer had the intense desire to kill or the voice in his head telling him to do so, which he hadn't experienced since the death of his mother. He certainly had a warm presence of light surrounding him for someone who was in hell. As the drowning victims release Freddy, Jason raises his left hand in a sign. Just in case they had second thoughts, Freddy swiftly swam out of the lake. Freddy leaned over to try to catch his breath because he was panting heavily. Jason was staring down at him when Freddy looked up, and Freddy responded by giving him the finger. "Attack me again, and I'll throw you right back and let them have you." Naruto noticed that Jason didn't particularly like Freddy and his ruin, so he said, "If you guys are done with your issue, let's get out of here. If we're gonna get out of here, I'll have to keep an eye on the two. Having them fight for each other's throats is the last thing I need. I'm curious about their identity. If they were able to take away Freddy's abilities and give Jason a place to join them, they must be extremely strong. This is even more reason to leave quickly." Jason Voorhees is Naruto's new ally, and he will do everything in his power to prevent the two from tearing each other's throats out. Even though the two had a troubled past together, getting the hell out of hell was the primary objective at the moment. The trio passed the fire pits on their way. There was a very thin bridge that connected the fire pits to the next field of hell. The only issue was that anyone who fell could use the fire pit down below. Jason and Freddy were fortunate that Naruto went first. The fact that Jason was heavier than the other two did present a challenge, but they overcame it without any issues. The Rage Field. The Field of Rage is a place where people who die in the living world from intense anger or intolerable hatred go to die. None of the three died in this way. When Jason heard a noise, he halted his exploration of the area. Jason groaned to attract the attention of Freddy and Naruto. Voorhees heard the same weird noise, and so did the two. Freddy was prepared to confront whoever was making that odd sound, while Naruto moaned. Jason said to the two, "Here it comes." As the three entered another Hell's resident, the background changed exactly as it had before. The background changed to a house, just a house, instead of a forest, an underground basement, or anything of that sort. The front door was directly behind the three of them as they entered the house. While Freddy was looking around, wondering which house this was, Jason and Naruto were the only ones on guard. The three were startled by a sound. It was a meow sound. With a heavy frown, Freddy said, "Just a fucking cat." They heard a cat say, "Meow," once more, but it sounded much closer this time. Jason tightly gripped his machete, threatening to kill the cat if it offered him or Naruto a treat. Naruto sighed. He didn't want to find the person or thing that owned this area, but once again, he had no choice. Alright, boys, let's make our shy guest come out. Or we'll never get the hell of this shithole. The first to move forward was Naruto, being pursued by the two serial killers. Naruto went into what appeared to be a kitchen, but it was empty and just a typical kitchen with nothing eerie or sinister about it. Jason handed Naruto a big kitchen knife, saying, "You're going to need it, trust me." Jason took the knife out of generosity. After surveying the kitchen, Naruto started talking. Freddy and Jason turned back to Naruto and said, "I know how this is going to get us. One by one when we're alone, that's how it's gonna get us like in those movies." Freddy chuckled. He was shocked to learn that they were dealing with a serial killer who would do such a thing. "Kid, we're in hell, why would our guest do that?" Jason gave Freddy an angry look and said, "You sneaked up on me when we first met, didn't you?" Freddy hurried out of the kitchen. Jason returned his focus to Naruto and shook his head. "We really don't need him." Naruto's sweat dropped, hoping the visitor would be cordial. "I know, but we need his help to get out of here. I'm more worried who this house belongs to." The sound of a cat meowing was heard once more. "I don't like this place. It gives me the creeps, there no cat here." "How can you tell? I live in a forest for almost 20 years. I know when there's an animal here or not." When Freddy heard the cat again, he went upstairs. The sound of footsteps prompted Freddy to proceed down the narrow corridor. While in the bedroom, Freddy made his way to someone's room. The fact that the bed was on the floor rather than an American-made bed suggests they were in a Japanese home. As the final item Freddy would ever check, there was a small closet to his left. As a murderer, Freddy is aware of how others carry out their murders. Observing that the bedroom was empty, just as Freddy turned to leave the bedroom, he heard something above him. Just as Freddy opened the closed closet, he heard Naruto and Jason ascend the stairs. Freddy sighed, "Give me a fucking break." A body was discovered when Freddy opened the closed closet. A young Japanese woman with long, black, raven hair was found dead. She was bound and tied inside what looked to be a bed bag, and she was covered in blood. It looks like the woman is dead. She was staring at Freddy with her eyes wide open. Freddy was filled with nothing but anger and unquenchable fury. The dream demon was unfazed by her angry gaze. One of the few things that gave Freddy his abilities in the dream world was his love of fear and hatred. The dead woman was on the floor when Jason and Naruto entered the bedroom. Naruto paused and felt his body freeze in fear upon seeing the dead woman. Naruto dropped his knife and landed on his butt. The woman's body began to move abruptly. Freddy said, "Ah hell," because he knew what was about to happen. The skin of the deceased woman turned dead gray. Every time she moved, the sound of bones and cracking could be heard. Freddy was tripped by the woman's grasp of his right leg. Despite the fact that her body was still in a broken state, the woman slowly stood up. Jason was on the verge of slashing the woman with his machete. However, Jason's machete was caught by a Japanese man who appeared out of nowhere. As the man entered the next room to engage Jason in combat, he threw Jason through the wall and into the next room. Leaving the deceased woman and Naruto alone in the bedroom, Naruto sensed the woman's fear, hatred, and grief. She had no intention of pursuing Freddy. After wondering why, Naruto realized. Naruto was the new guy because he was pure. Jason swung his machete downward while battling the man in the adjacent room, but he was unable to touch him. Jason was fighting a ghost when his machete phased right through the man. Jason was apprehended by the man, who took the tall masked killer by the throat and threw him into the restroom. Jason was standing close to a water-filled tube and shook his head. The man attempted to drown Jason in the tube by grabbing him by the head. Jason was already dead, and the memories of him drowning as a child made him feel afraid again. Naruto attempted to resist this unidentified force, hold on his body while the others did the same. As he slowly attempted to reach, but Naruto felt his right hand move. Before Naruto could seize the knife, someone grabbed it. When Naruto looked up, he saw a small, ghostly, white Japanese boy. Naruto turned to face the deceased woman who had just collapsed on him. Her head was on his chest. A frightening choke sound came from the woman as though she was trying to speak to him, and she gave him a dead-eye look. The woman approached Naruto's face. Never in his life did Naruto feel so afraid. Naruto wanted his eyes to shut. However, he made the decision to face this hell like a ninja. With a serious look of anger in his eyes, Naruto looks back at the woman. Naruto yelled, "I'm not afraid," at the deceased woman. Naruto sensed that blue chakra was covering him. As Naruto was covered in blue chakra, the deceased woman reached out and touched his left cheek. Slowly attempting to crawl away from Naruto, the dead woman was captured by the blue chakra. Abruptly lowered her head between Naruto's legs as he blushed a little from the strange position he was in. After he had recovered, Freddy turned to face Naruto and burst out laughing. Getting head already on the first date, huh kid? S's. Shut up and get me a hand. Freddy was on the verge of approaching the woman to remove her from Naruto. However, the Japanese man who had attacked Jason was abruptly propelled back into the bedroom. Jason grabbed his machete and cracked his head. Jason had had enough of this, his upper body was drenched. The dead woman and Naruto's position were both visible to the Japanese man. The deceased woman raised her head and turned to face her husband as the man yelled at her. The dead woman no longer appeared to be dead, which surprised Freddy and Naruto. She had typical light colored skin. She was stunningly gorgeous. However, fear had replaced the hatred in her eyes. Naruto was able to understand the woman when she spoke in Japanese. Grabbing his wife by the hair, the man walked over to her and pulled her from the bedroom into the hallway. Freddy grinned and said, "This should be good." The three observed the man using Naruto's kitchen knife. The woman apologized and pleaded with the man to stop. The woman pleaded for mercy, but the man ignored her and continued to slash at her, slashing at her arms and back. The woman was dripping blood from her mouth when the man gave her 2 slaps, and just in time to stop the man from stabbing her. The man's right arm has been grabbed. When the man turned around, he saw that it was none other than Naruto Uzumaki. Anger filled Naruto's eyes. In Japanese, Naruto questioned the man, "What the hell is he doing?" The man merely attempted to stab Naruto without responding. Just before he completed the combo with a roundhouse kick to the man's face, Naruto punched him in the face 4 times. The man was hurled into a different room. "Oh shit, the kid is pissed," Freddy exclaimed while he and Jason observed Naruto at work. While holding his famous attack on the Rasengan in his hand, Naruto grabbed the man by the throat. Naruto was going to get rid of this jerk of a husband right now. However, Naruto heard the man's wife yell at him to stop killing him. "Why not?" Naruto asked, glancing at the husband's wife. Naruto could see everything in the woman's eyes. Similar to how Jason shares his memories with Naruto. Naruto witnessed the woman's recollections, including how her husband discovered that she had a slight romantic interest in a man. The husband lost his mind and attacked and physically assaulted his wife. Her husband drowned their only child, their son, and his pet cat in the bathtub after she was paralyzed by a snap to her neck. Before taking her life, he returned to beat and rape his defenseless wife twice. This man was so rotten that he should have been in hell, but he wasn't her. She was merely a victim of his stupidity. However, Naruto was neither a murderer nor a monster. Seeing that the woman only desired peace and didn't want any more suffering, death, or pain, Naruto backhanded the husband before releasing his hold on his throat. Naruto approached the wife while cursing the man in Japanese. Naruto spoke to the woman in Japanese and bowed his head in respect, saying, "Pardon me, I'm not used to seeing such suffering." "Thank you so much, thank you." Name: Naruto Uzumaki. "Do you own this house, Ms.?" Naruto politely inquired, hoping for a yes. "Yes, it is. I've been in pain for so long that I just wanted to stop. Everything keeps replaying, and my husband keeps hurting me. There is no one there to save me and my son. Thank you, thank you, thank you." The woman sobbed as she gave Naruto a tight hug. Naruto hesitated, unsure of what to say or do. All he could do was gently stroke the woman's stunning black hair and reassure her that he and his friends would assist her. The two no longer embrace. The woman turned to see Freddy and Jason come into the hallway. The woman's son, who no longer appeared to be a ghost, stood in front of them. The mother gave her son a hug. Jason was grinning behind his mask, just as Naruto was, but Freddy's gaze remained fixed on the husband that Naruto had severely beaten. "I'm Kayako Saki, and this is my son Toshio Saki." The woman introduced herself and her son to the 3 men. Toshio waved at them amiably. Takeo Saki, Kayako's husband, emerged from the restroom, and Jason stood in front of everyone, observing his wife encircled by 3 men with a furious look in his eyes. In Japanese, Takeo referred to Kayako as a whore. Takeo ran toward everyone in order to reach Kayako, his wife. When whips of black hair reached out and grabbed Takeo's arms, legs, and throat, Jason was about to cut him in half with his machete. Everyone turned to see that the whip belonged to Kayako. Kayako no longer appeared to be alive. Instead, she resembled her undead self. However, Kayako was in charge this time. She told her husband that she would never want to see his face again and that he was a jealous psychopath and controlling husband. As the house gradually faded away, Kayako felt her unending rage leave her heart after she had torn her husband to pieces. bringing the background back to what everyone sees as a cave. Jason, Naruto, Freddy, and now Kayako and her son were present. Naruto said, "Where are we now?" in English. Circa see. Kayako's neck was still broken, so she struggled to say it correctly. When Jason grabbed Kayako by the neck and snapped it back into place, Kayako said, "Cave of Guilt," in English, the name of the cave. "You speak English?" Freddy appeared momentarily perplexed. "The guy the first had a small crush on was Toshio's English teacher," Kayako said, nodding her head. Her flawless English made it easy for everyone to understand her. Kayako inquired, "Who are your friends Naruto-kun?" "This is Freddy, he's a dream demon, and this is Jason Voorhees, he's..." Naruto takes a moment to consider Jake. "He's my friend. They want to help me so they can get out of hell. I'm sure we love to have you join us, Kayako. You're free now, you deserve your freedom." "Okay, we're done with the kind-hearted love shit. Can we move on?" Freddy continued ahead of the group. "We now got Mommy Boy, Ninja, Blondie, and now a MILF and her son. Great, whoever will join us." While Jason slapped Freddy's back for being impolite to the new team members, Kayako and her son shared a sweat drop. "What the hell was that for?" "Don't mind Freddy, Kayako. Come on, we can't stay around and go nothing." After welcoming a new team member, the group sets out to explore the Cave of Guilt, where they hope to escape hell and avoid encountering any more threats to their freedom. Acquiring a new ally to aid in their escape from hell, Kayako Saki was the group's newest member who shared their desire to do so. The group entered the Cave of Guilt, a location in hell where the most profound guilt arises, whether it be from betrayal, self-centered trust, or those who are not deserving of life's trust. As the group passed through the Cave of Guilt, Freddy paused. Naruto turned to face Freddy and wondered why the dream demon had stopped. Freddy's expression was one of rage. Naruto questioned, "What's holding you back?" "I can." "Damn it," Freddy said, turning to face the entertainer from which they had come. "What's wrong?" inquired Naruto. "Explain to the young man that they're coming, they know I'm trying to escape again. We better hurry up or we'll get caught, and trust me kid, you don't want to get caught, especially by them." "Well, let's move quickly or they'll find us," Naruto said to Freddy. "Not so easy, little shit," Freddy smirked. "Every level of hell, or a portion of hell, serves as a guardian or as home to another level of hell. The three of us are the three that you have encountered. Every time we encounter a resident of hell, it will become more difficult." Rolling his eyes, Naruto said, "Excellent. Who controls this level of hell, do you know?" Freddy gave Naruto a stern look, and Naruto sighed and facepalmed, saying, "Nope, it's not like we have a hell meeting every year." Kyuubi told Naruto, "Kid, we'd better finish this level quickly. I don't like this at all." Naruto said, "Yeah, I know Fox, I'm trying to hurry the best I can." He noticed that everyone was making fun of him. "What?" he inquired. "To whom are you speaking?" Freddy inquired. "My inner demon. To summarize, when I was a baby, my soul fused with a demon's spirit. The demon is known as the Kyuubi, or nine-tailed fox. It has incredible power and a healing effect on me, but using it always comes with a cost. I'm sure you don't hate me, but I had a difficult and unpleasant childhood. Enough about the past. It's time to go on," Naruto said, turning away as Freddy, Jason, and Kayako scowled briefly. "What?" Glancing over his right shoulder, Naruto asked. "Something tells us the next person to join us is gonna have a shitty childhood like the rest of us," Freddy sighed. "You know how hell loves to ruin children's childhoods and make them murderers?" Naruto looked away, not caring at the moment. "Have you ever wondered what childhood would be like if you were in my position?" Freddy grinned broadly. "Concerning them?" he inquired. As Naruto, Freddy, Kayako, and her son watched the hypothetical scene unfold, Freddy put his left hand on Naruto's head and said, "This is going to take a few seconds." "What's happening?" Naruto inquired. Freddy told him to shut up and watch. The scene opens. Nothing but darkness can compete with the void of the black abyss. "Once again I'm alone. Again I always been alone. Why'd I never get used to it?" A young boy with blonde, spiky hair stood by himself in the darkness. "I thought I had everything set. I thought everything was pretty well even for me, but once again, life isn't meant for me." Blood was dripping from his right hand, and the boy with the blonde hair just stood there looking exhausted, with his clothes torn and burned, his eyes red, and his skin half burned. "I'm so tired, all I want is to sleep. Sleep, yeah, that's just what I need, but..." "You are unable to fall asleep." The young boy heard a dark voice say, "You can't sleep." "Who is present?" he inquired. For a brief moment, there was silence. "You cannot sleep. If you do, you will perish. You also don't want to pass away, do you?" No, I am able to keep you alive and assist you. I can put you to sleep without killing you if you believe me. My boy, you look so exhausted. Tell me what you want, and I'll assist you. Everyone needs sleep, so let me give you your beauty. I can keep you alive, but without my assistance, you will perish. Naruto, you are able to sleep without passing away. The boy with the blonde hair was named Naruto Uzumaki, and he was a young child who had recently become a genin. Although Naruto wasn't sure he could trust this dark voice, he sensed some kindness from it, and something about it gave him confidence. Come on, Naruto. You can rely on me. I trust you, and you can trust me. Naruto felt him slowly nod off, but the voice kept him awake. But what about the others? If I won't wake up, everyone would forget about me. I'll be asleep and I don't want to die, but I'm really tired, really tired. Naruto, I can assist you. Let me assist you, please. We can exact revenge on Mizuki for the harm he caused to you. Mizuki, Naruto scowled as he reflected on his recent ordeal. Rewind. Naruto went on to take the genin exams, gave it his all, and failed for the third time. His aspirations to become a Hokage were far from certain, and he wished that everyone would respect him, be kind to him, become friends with him, or even adopt him into their family. However, for the time being, that was just a pipe dream. Mizuki gave the young ninja hope by telling him, Naruto, you can do it. I believe in you. But how can I surpass the genin test? I can't even make a real shadow clone. Naruto murmured. I can tell you how to do it, Naruto. Would you like to know how? Naruto turned to look at the short, silver-haired Junin when Mizuki said this. Later that evening. The secret scrolls have been stolen by Lord Hokage Naruto. Sarutobi is informed by Mizuki. What? That isn't possible. Sarutobi was taken aback upon hearing this. To locate Naruto and the Konoha secret scrolls, Sarutobi dispatched numbness ninjas. The forest that is hidden. So that's the proper way to summon a shadow clone. A little challenging, but I believe I can succeed. Oh, what do these unlock lock seals mean? Well, better get it done. Naruto completed 5 hand seals, but after hearing voices, he was unable to complete the final hand seal. Mizuki told him, you think can protect him but you can't Iruka. Since Naruto is a Konoha ninja, he has no justification for using the scroll to hurt villagers. Iruka remarked, you know that Naruto is a sweet, kind kid, as Mizuki chuckled. From behind a tree, Naruto saw Iruka and Mizuki fighting. They began fighting for the benefit of the village, and Naruto exclaimed, Ha, I see that you are aware of my intention to take the scroll and flee this helpless village. You understand why everyone is afraid of Naruto because he is nothing more than a scared child without that inner strength. Mizuki, are you unaware that it is prohibited? He shouted. How can you defend that idiot Naruto Uzumaki, who is the 9-tailed fox that stole your mother and father from you? He was almost Konoha 12 years ago. Iruka saw Naruto as a human being, but Mizuki was correct about Iruka's past. You're not correct. I will defend Naruto with my life because he is a human being and not a monster. Then, Iruka, die. When Mizuki arrived, Iruka used a kunai to stab him in the stomach. No, Naruto cried as he showed himself to them. However, it was too late. Mizuki stabbed Iruka in the stomach as Iruka was bleeding to death. Naruto, run. Iruka informed him. Mizuki pulled his kunai from Iruka's stomach and grinned at the young child, saying, finally you show yourself. Weak excuse for a ninja. Naruto became enraged upon witnessing the one man who had become his friend and teacher suffer harm as a result of him. Naruto rushed toward Mizuki, who was nimble on his feet. He dropped a kick at Mizuki's face, but the boy immediately stood up and threw dirt at him in an attempt to blind him. Naruto rubbed his eyes in an attempt to remove the dirt. Mizuki trusted Naruto with his kunai, but Naruto grasped it just before it hit him, headbutted him, and Mizuki stabbed Naruto in the throat with a second kunai. Naruto spat blood in Mizuki's face. Naruto was holding his throat in an attempt to stop the bleeding when Mizuki backhanded him away. Feeling weak, Naruto's only thought was that he had to save Iruka. Mizuki approached Naruto and stomped on his stomach with his right foot. With a joyful smile, Mizuki realized that this was his great opportunity to take Naruto's life right now. Iruka watched in horror as he attempted to assist Naruto, but the bleeding prevented him from doing so. Iruka threw a kunai at Mizuki, but Mizuki dodged it and was about to kill Naruto. Naruto didn't care if he died from blood loss because he was going to stop Mizuki and save Iruka. When Mizuki grabbed Naruto by the bleeding throat and threw him aside, Naruto jumped on him and began beating him with his fists. Naruto then rolled over on the ground until he struck a tree. Time to put an end to this. Mizuki threw a kunai at Naruto, but it missed him by an inch. Naruto sighed, indicating that Mizuki's aim was seriously off. Run, Naruto! Iruka yelled. At first, Naruto appeared perplexed, but then he noticed that Mizuki had thrown a kunai to his left, and it wasn't just any kunai. Rather, it was a kunai with a fire tag attached. Naruto remained motionless, simply staring at the kunai as the tag illuminated. Naruto closed his eyes, knowing that this would be extremely painful. Boom! Naruto. The flashback has ended. Now that his eyes were closing, Naruto was unable to keep up. Don't you want to hold him accountable for his actions? Don't you think he should be punished? Yes. He injured both me and Iruka. Sensei. Naruto, he did much more than just harm you. He burned and cut you. As Naruto collapsed to his knees, his head landed on a warm, soft lap, and he said, "Revenge can wait. All I want to do is sleep." All right, Naruto. Go to sleep, my dear child, and dream beautiful dreams. Naruto closed his eyes as he gradually changed into a baby, and the unidentified individual gazed down at him before cradling him in its arms and rocking him slowly to the left and right. My little Naruto, dream. When you wake up, the world of dreams will become your world, and you will be alone, my dear boy. The unidentified individual's evil smile grew into a broad grin, and as the darkness quickly moved into a room, a small crib, which turned out to be a long, red-haired woman, was in front of the person. Naruto was rocked to sleep by the nude woman. You'll be more than just an immortal at that point. My dear little Naruto, I swear to you that. After 10 years. Konoha Prison Mizuki set Naruto Uzumaki on fire that day, and he paid for it 10 years ago. Mizuki's plan to steal the scroll was foiled when he set Naruto on Junin and a few Chunin discovered them. After growing weary of his incarceration, Mizuki planned his escape from Konoha Prison, and he closed his eyes to get some rest before the big day arrived. Mizuki immediately closed his eyes after hearing a little laugh. When he opened them, he discovered that he was in the hidden forest rather than Konoha Prison. Mizuki cheered and grinned, shouting repeatedly that he was free. However, Mizuki turned around when he heard someone laughing behind him and saw that no one was there. He decided to ignore the laughter and strolled through the forest, taking his time because it had been a long time since he had been in the hidden forest. The sound of fire filled the air, and Mizuki began to notice that something familiar about this forest was there. Although he didn't like the smell, he grinned because it brought back memories of the day he set Naruto on fire. Mizuki stopped when he noticed a small piece of paper on the ground to his right. He picked it up and read the words on it before dropping the paper. What on earth? Do you recall me, Mizuki? Sensei, I didn't forget you, was written on the piece of paper. Mizuki became a little more concerned about what was happening when he heard someone running quickly behind him. Mizuki glanced back, but there was nothing there. Mizuki turned to look behind her. Slash! After being slapped down by the unidentified individual, Mizuki fell on his butt, his face hurting, blood streaming down his face as he moaned in agony, and 3 marks' claws were implanted on his face. Now, Mizuki was on his knees, asking, what the hell was that? Before long, Mizuki heard laughter all around him. His heart began to race with fear, so he got up and began to flee from the person. Mizuki ran as hard as he could, but sadly, he ended up back where he had found the notepaper. Breathing heavily, Mizuki asked, "Where am I? What is this?" Mizuki heard a voice behind him say, "My world." He jumped in terror, knowing who it was. Mizuki slowly stood up, standing motionless on his 2 feet. Hey Mizuki. Sensei. How are you? 4 years later, how are things going? Not 5 years. No, 10 years have passed since you burned me. I can tell you're having fun in prison. The voice laughed softly. Who are you? Mizuki inquired. Who am I? Oh, please don't act foolish around me. You know who I am, Mizuki. Sensei. You didn't forget about me. You remembered me. Fortunately, I didn't forget about you either. The voice laughs evilly. You remember me. Tell me good news, and now it's time for me to return the favor. Mizuki swiftly spun around to strike the person in the face, but all she struck was air. The voice behind Mizuki laughed and said, Hey, I'm over here. Now that Mizuki was terrified, the situation worsened. What do you want from me? Well, I'm not sure, Mizuki. Tell me, do you know what it's like to have nearly every limb and piece of flesh on your body on fire? Do you, do you reply to me? The voice yelled at Mizuki. No number I don't. I didn't think so at all. When Mizuki felt the person touch his right shoulder, he looked at the person's left hand and saw that it was burned, with only muscles and bone remaining. It also felt extremely hot. Following the third pat, Mizuki's right shoulder caught fire, and he screamed in agony as he attempted to extinguish the flames. The unidentified individual was delighted to witness Mizuki being burned. In the actual world, Mizuki's right arm was now on fire, and when the guards heard him scream, they opened the cell to remove him and extinguish the fire. Fortunately for Mizuki, the fire was put out quickly, and he was hurried to the medical room. Returning to the dream world. On the ground, Mizuki's right arm was burned, not severely, but still. Mizuki groaned in agony as the unidentified individual approached him. Mizuki looked up at the man, who had a broad smile on his face and crystal, clear blue eyes. His right hand was clawed with 4 long nails that resembled knives, and he was wearing a burnt orange jacket that was torn. He bent over to get a better look at Mizuki. Did Mizuki-sensei get hurt by that? After a short while, the person laughs. The person kicked Mizuki in the face after Mizuki spat in it, and Mizuki rolled over, coughing up blood from his mouth. His nose was broken, and he felt that a few of his front teeth were now loose. The individual flipped Mizuki onto his back and said, "Listen, Mizuki. I want to ask you some questions. I'll give you a swift and painless death if you respond to them. Are you able to do that?" Mizuki nods his head slowly. "First of all, why did you attempt to take the scrolls away from me?" The person grinned after receiving Mizuki's first response, which was, "To give to me my master Orochimaru, he promises me power and a spot for me to help destroy Konoha." Well, it wasn't that difficult after all. Second question. Was I missed by anyone? Mizuki initially wanted to laugh, but it wasn't appropriate given where he was. Maybe a few, but I'm not sure. Iruka and the third Hokage might be the few, but I'm not sure. Alright, I have some people I want to see. You were at the top of my list. My last query is, did you like burning me? Did you find it offensive to burn a small child? Mizuki laughed initially, not caring how he would pass away, knowing that this final question would determine his fate. Yes, I did enjoy it. You demon shit. I absolutely adore it and wish I could do it again. The person grabbed Mizuki by the neck of his shirt while he was held high in the air, and Mizuki felt as though he had just mocked death directly in the face. Mizuki was astounded by the demon's strength. And they refer to me as a demon. Mizuki let out a loud scream, which was followed by a long silence before the person confronted Mizuki. Mizuki's eyes widen in terror as the person laughs evilly and says, "Why you screaming? I hadn't even cut you yet. What are your desires? I gave you the information you required. I'm just getting started, in the actual world." Mizuki was being treated by doctors and a nurse when injuries appeared on his body, including burn marks on his right arm, a broken nose, and loose teeth. "What's going on with him, doctor?" The nurse was horrified and shocked to see how quickly these wounds appeared on Mizuki's body. Mizuki screamed in agony, and as she did, her stomach and chest burst open, splattering blood all over the doctor and the nurses in the medic room. Returning to the dream world. Mizuki was hanging upside down from a big, thick-looking tree, his feet tied together, and the person approaching him gazed at the wound on his chest, which was slowly killing him. He was dead in the real world. "How on earth are you still alive?" Mizuki inquired. "Oh, I'm here because I didn't die when you burned me. I returned to find the murderer." "Mizuki, you played a role in my demise. Mizuki, it was good to see you again. But now that you're all dying, I can't say much." The person laughed. The boy who was set on fire that day by the Kyuubi host, Naruto Uzumaki, was the one who was causing Mizuki's problems and who had just killed him. 10 long years have passed since Naruto last saw a human, Mizuki, who passed away as a child and was raised in the dream world. Did you know that the brain continues to work for more than 7 minutes after the heart stops beating? We still have 6 minutes to play. Hee. Naruto's face lit up with a sick smile at what he could do to Mizuki in that time. Final thoughts on the scene. Naruto was somewhat shocked by what he might have become, if he had ever become the Freddy of his era, as the scene ended with Mizuki yelling as the background quickly returned to the Cave of Guilt. "Hell kid, you would have turned out to be a fine student for me," Freddy chuckled. Freddy glared at the tall killer, and Jason thought, but he's better off being himself and not one else, especially someone like you, Freddy. Before Naruto could say anything, a big hole opened up, trapping him, Kayako, and her son. While Kayako and her son were clinging to Naruto's legs, Naruto swiftly grabbed onto the edge. As Freddy assisted Jason, he grabbed Naruto's right shoulder and pulled him, Kayako, and her son up, preventing them from falling into the huge hole. The hole that attempted to devour them vanishes after they have rescued their new allies. "Alright, what the devil was that?" Naruto inquired. "The person in charge at this level doesn't appear to be having fun with us." Freddy said, "We'd better watch our ass because we won't be as lucky the next time." "You're quite knowledgeable about Hell's levels, aren't you?" Naruto fixed Freddy with his gaze. "I've visited Hell numerous times." Freddy cautioned him, "Be careful the next time, as we might not save your ass." Let's get going then.
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.